Welcome to Optimal Game State. Something different again today. For October, I decided I was going to paint some orcs, join in with the festive season of painting, I guess. And this video is kind of is a result of that. So I spent a bunch of time. So as we see, it was basically 2 weeks. I'll be just painting orcs. So I didn't get a video last week. And in this video, I'm going to show you a lot of me painting and some of the things I did with it. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the orcs themselves. So we're going to have a little bit of a look at the Ironjawz. Now, this isn't going to be the same sort of format that I normally do. Normally what I do is I would look at everything. But in this case, I'm only really interested in these fighters here. So that's the Ardboyz, the Brute Rager and Wrekka, and the Megaboss. And the reason is those are the boxes I got. Oh, am I missing one? I am missing one from that. So there's the Ardboy Big Boss, but the Ardboyz also have a boss as well. Anyway, we'll see those as I get through. There are reasons for me picking out those, and yeah, I just didn't want to go through everything. Now, one of the interesting things about this particular warband is there are actually two Underworld warbands that, as you can see, are showing up on the numbers. The reason they're showing up on the numbers, so Bone Kata is the most efficient, Tug and Haka are both there. The reason they're showing up is because a lot of them are wielding kind of two-handed weapons or two single weapons. And as we'll see in a bit, a lot of the warband has moved over to this new style following the FAQ. So the Ardboy with Choppa has a big shield. So for most of these orcs, they're very slow at 3 move. The Ardboyz, which are the kind of basic unit, the cheapest one at 100 points, have a big shield and can do a chunk of damage. So it's a very, very interesting warband. It's very different to what it was before the FAQ. And what I've done here is I've focused on some of the new models, the ones that I am interested in. I've skipped on some of the mounted figures. Mounted troops generally tend not to be great. And the brutes, I've skipped out on the brutes. Now I'll talk about this a little bit later, but sorry, I've got the Brute Rage and the Brute Wrekka, but there are other brutes which I've skipped over. And yeah, I'm basically quite happy with what I have as an option for a warband. The idea was for me to kind of get those here. If this is something that you wanted to follow yourself, I think this will end up with a kind of good selection of figures to build your warband out of. And if you really want to, you can kind of go into a little more detail and check out the details on Warcry to see what the other options, the other bits and pieces that I've skipped out on. All right. Lots of orcs. So this is a metal plate. These are magnetized. This is a box of Ardboyz. So all of these. I have assembled them all with close combat weapons for Warcry. I love the spear models. It seemed to be a better call for the game. This is the leader. You can tell because he's got extra spikes. Now, an interesting thing, and if I'm smart, I might edit this on. An interesting thing is they screwed up in Warcry. They marked down the leader as being the one with the banner on the back. Now, the banner on the back is not the leader in Age of Sigmar. It's actually the banner bearer. So you could basically plonk it down onto any of them, as far as I'm aware. You need a good surface for them. And it's a little confusing because this particular fighter does have a banner and does have the icon bearer rune mark. So yeah, for these I've left the banner off, and it is important to remember that this guy is my leader. So that's those 10. I also have the boss, so that's an extra character model, and then we've got a Megaboss, and that's one that I picked up in one of the Hatchet magazines. They're all pink. I'm actually going to go back in and do another layer of white next on top, and then they're all going to get done with one of the yellows. So I think there's one of the contrast yellows I have that'll do the job nicely. I'm going to airbrush them. I am not very good at airbrushing. If you can see on this guy here, is that going to focus? There's a lot of mess, there's a lot of speckling. I had a lot of trouble trying to get it to work, and unfortunately it is what it is. But it's fine. I need to get better at it. I need to spend more time on it. I probably should be replacing some of the airbrushes I have, because they've gotten a bit old. But you know, they're going to get the job done. And more importantly, these are orcs, so it's no big deal. Oh, and the pink. Okay, so we did a magenta, and then we did a slightly lighter pink onto it. And we're going to do a white on top just to get a nice contrast. The reason you do pink is, well, we'll see how it works. I haven't done it before, but it's a good undertone for yellow. So yellow is a very tricky color to do, but apparently, if you do pinks, so you can see maybe on this guy here, it's kind of got dark and then goes to a lighter, and then we're probably going to have it lighter again once we drop the white ink on it. And we are going to be using an ink. And then over that, we're going to put the yellow, and then fingers crossed that works. So here we are doing the yellow. It is Bad Moon Contrast Yellow. So yeah, a little bit of thinner into the airbrush, and then we're basically spraying it direct on. Really good coverage. As you can see, it is doing the model is quite light at this stage because I did do the white over it in retrospect, and I will mention this again. I think I probably wouldn't have done that later white, or I would have left more of the kind of darker undershades. But yeah, it does set up a nice contrast with the yellows. It's pretty great. This is us finished. So it was Bad Moon yellow contrast. It's quite a bright yellow. Well, the word is, can you see gradations in it? Any of the bits that we're not happy with, we will just do them as black chunks of armor. So there's nothing wasted. And of course, there are a lot of sections that are going to be painted in green, and like those cloth bits at the back are going to get their own colors, and the metal on the chainmail. So we're mostly just interested in like certain plates and the shield, and when at some point we'll have to go back in and put some black patterns on it. But yeah, I think that the arm is a good example of it. You can kind of see the gradation between it. Should I have done it more severe? Maybe. Definitely could have pushed it higher contrast. Normally is a good idea, but yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's a nice yellow, and feels like we've made some good progress on these guys. This is us finished. Alright, this is Friday night. It's 20 past 11. I'm about to head to bed. So, what did we do on these boys? So, obviously we've got the green on. As you can see, it's just one single layer, and I will work on some highlights and upgrades later, but it's just to get the initial green down. Before we did that, we also did a dry brush with a pale yellow. So just to kind of bring out the edges here. So it's looking pretty good. Now, what's going to happen as we're going through these pieces is we are going to have spillover. We're going to have places where this doesn't work. So we've done a lot of work, obviously airbrushing and then dry brushing the yellow to get the yellow really nice. If something goes bad, and we end up getting colors on things, what we'll end up doing is we will change that panel to black. So we want to have some of the armor panels to be black rather than just all yellow. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get through as much as possible. This was one of the ones that I kind of tested and got a bit of more done. Skin tone ended up slightly different than some of the others I was going for. I might actually go back over him to lighten him up a little bit. And we've done some of the colours at the back. Now, what I'm probably going to do here is I'm probably going to agrax this and then do a little more highlighting, and then we'll pick out some of the pieces that are going to be black. But yeah, the idea here is any of the bits that we think didn't come out as good, we can go back and do black instead. All right, so we're working away now. I want to talk about the orcs for a little bit, just so we kind of get an idea of why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. The battle trait for them is enough messing. So you'll get this as just a generic ability if all of your models, all your fighters are from this. So no heroes, no trolls from outside the Ironjawz. It's enough messing. Each time an enemy fighter makes a wait action, one of your guys gets to move 3 inches. Really, really good, especially as a lot of these fighters are move 3, so that extra mobility is super, super good. Really, what's going to happen is your opponent is not going to wait. So you're probably not going to get to trigger this ability, but it does mean that they're not going to be able to abuse it. Typically, what would have happened was if they have a really big warband, they take a bunch of wait actions, then you'll do all your stuff, and then they're free to kind of maneuver and kind of take advantage of the fact that you've got no actions left. The reaction is get stuck in. For this, the cheapest fighter you can do it with is one of your 100-point Ardboyz with shields. So you're going to trade one of their actions to give another friendly fighter within 3 inches, so someone near them, a bonus move action. Now, trading an action for an action isn't necessarily great, but what you want to do is you want to be able to trade up. So if you're able to give that extra bit of a movement to your Megaboss, that is going to be super effective. But a lot of the time, it's not going to be relevant. You don't really want to trade a fighter's action for another fighter's action. Although, there may be scenarios where it might work well, especially if you're able to push someone to combat or if you're able to block that move if it was important. The double is charge. So normally, if you wanted to, you could spend the double to give yourself +1 move, and when you take 2 actions, you get an extra +2. Remember, these guys only move 3. This is if you're right next or getting close to a target, you can trigger this. It's going to be a 3 or a 4 move, as we'll see. Some of the fighters actually are 4 move, and then you're going to be in combat. Fingers crossed. And then you're going to be able to use your 2 actions. So this is a super, super good, super, super effective ability. And it's going to basically let them close that final bit of ground and get an attack. Now, it does also mean if they are 2 moves away, so if they've been moved, they can use a double to get that first and then the normal move, and then they get 1 melee action in. So, it's something. For a double, though, getting a bonus action as a move is massive. So that is super, super good. The quad isn't really great unless I'm missing something about it. You +1 to the attacks characteristics of attack actions made by a fighter, and if you take someone down, you get a bonus move action. I probably just prefer to use my quad to move and attack. Okay, now this is the core of what our warband is going to be looking at. So this is the Ardboyz with Choppa. There is a stick option, which gives you a little bit of range but reduces the damage, but I prefer the melee, and the reason is because the ability they have is shield smash, and that requires you to be 1 inch of the fighter. So let's skip straight down to that ability. It is a triple, which means you're probably only going to be using it once per turn if you're using it at all. The target moves 3 inches directly away from the fighter to throw jumping, so it's a push, it's a shove. In addition, if you're within 6 inches of a friendly fighter with Ironjawz, you'll do a little bit of damage to them as well. So it's equal to the ability. So if you've got a triple 3, it's going to do 3 damage to them. All right, let's go back though. Moves them 3 inches directly away from the fighter. Depending on what you're doing, depending on your mission, you're going to be using this in different ways. If you're looking to control objectives, this is an ability that you can use just to shove people off objectives. That's pretty big. That will let you get a lot of control around it. If you are playing on terrain where people are standing near the edge of cliffs or lava or whatever, you're going to be able to shove people off buildings. So that's kind of fun. And it also means if you position it right, you can shove someone into one of your fighters. So if you move in with your Ardboyz with Choppa, you have that triple, you're going to do an attack with him. So move and an attack, and then you can shove him 3 inches, and that 3 inches might actually get him into one of your big guys, one of your big guys. To be honest, all of your guys are big. This is as small as it goes. So yeah, and then that fighter can then activate and take 2 attack actions. That's pretty great. So look at the numbers. Ardboyz with Choppa, so 100 points, 3 move, which is a lot of the fighters in this warband are only 3 move. But as we saw earlier, they have a lot of movement bonuses and abilities. 5 toughness, which is super chunky, We've got 15 wounds, which is good for 100 points, and then we're doing 4 points of damage on average. So they're going to be hard to take down. They are going to do a decent amount of damage for their points. And yeah, they've got this really, really cool shield smash ability that lets you basically shove your opponent around. So that's really, really great. After I picked up my Ardboyz box, I realized I need to go back and pick up my an Ardboyz Big Boss. And the reason is that shield smash ability also has that bonus for the Icon Bearer. The only real place that I could see where you get the Icon Bearer is here, is the Ardboyz Big Boss. Now, if you look at the PDF, it's a little unclear what's happening. It looks like the PDF was misformatted. Have a look at Warcry if you've got any doubts. Warcry explains what's going on and gives us this version of it, which everyone is the accepted and understood way that this should be. That this Ardboyz Big Boss is the one who has the banner bearer, or the icon bearer. So he needs, if he's within 6 inches of one of your Ironjawz when you're using Shield Smash, they're going to get a little bit of damage as well. So it's kind of a nice extra bonus. You're only going to be using one of those a turn because it is a triple. You're probably going to use it in turn 3 and turn 4. So it is something that I really wanted to focus the warband on, but it isn't necessarily super essential. So the Ardboyz Big Boss doesn't have to be there, but I picked him up basically because of that. Again, we're looking at slow move, lots of toughness, chunky health. So there's a lot to kill on this one. And then the melee damage is quite good. So yeah, that's 6.6 average. And he also has the option of attacking with the spear. So somehow he managed to keep that high toughness despite not having shield. Good for him. And then he has another ability, the triple Umessin. Now, this is the ability that the brutes typically have. So there is another section of fighters within this warband that I'm not looking at the moment. They're in another box. They are the brutes. And the brutes have that, I think it is actually a brute icon, but it gives them the access to this triple Umessin until control of objectives has been determined at the end of the battle round. Enemy fighters with wounds of less than 14 are not countered when determining which player controls objective. So right there, we have 2 different ways. We can shove people off objectives, or, because it is a triple, we can use Umessin, which will basically negate any of the low wound fighters from actually contesting anything. That's pretty good when you're dealing with large warbands. So yeah, so that's the kind of core. We're just looking at getting a bunch of these in and shoving a bunch of people around, and hopefully that'll be a bit of fun. All right, it is Saturday evening. I wandered into my local games workshop and I picked up my order, and I got some ultramarine bits and I got a new paintbrush. Those were my actual purchases. And this was the order that came in. So I'm not sure if I necessarily included it or not, but I ordered all 3 of these about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it must have been 2 weeks ago. And it all got bundled in, and I was very annoyed because I could have got it somewhere else. Basically, yeah, I did it at the kiosk and so in store, and this all got pushed out. Normally when I order stuff to my local store, it only ships on the day, so I was actually really surprised to see that this was in store today. So I'm very, very happy. So this is Continue My Dark Oath. This is because I'm a sucker for anything Slaves to Darkness. I already have 3 wizards. So the normal wizard, Warhammer Plus wizard, and Underworlds. Also had one of the warbands had a very nice wizard, so we got done. But this is what I was here for. This is the Weird Brute Records, which should round out what I've got going on. And then these are the rest of the boys. So we are going to go back. We're going to assemble these records, and we're going to try to get to the same stage as this. So the green isn't great, but the green is the base. And yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to assemble the 3 of these. We're doing this for Warcry, so it'll be slightly different to you might do it normally. Love this model. Going to build him. I think that is the same legs, so we're going to build him. We might see if the heads are changeable. Doesn't matter if they're not. And then we have to decide between the 2 of those. So I don't really like that head. I'll probably go with this guy. or maybe this head and this mace swirly thing. As far as I'm aware, these guys are good for blending chaff, the small guys, and then these guys are pretty good at taking down heroes. Alright, it is. Alright, so let's talk about the Brute Rager. So 4 move. That 4 move is big. So this, I mean, 4 move is normal for everybody else, but for the Orcs, it's a lot faster than anything we've got going. And it also triggers off a lot of their abilities. So they have a double that will let them move. And normally that's going to be moving 3, but with these 2 brutes we're going to be looking at, the Rager and the Wrekka, because they're moving 4, they're getting that extra burst of speed on top of that. So that's really, really nice. For 145 points, the damage isn't as high as you'd like it to be, that 4.6. It is still good. Yeah, let me just quickly check the numbers. Okay, yeah, so that weapon damage is about what you'd expect for about 117. So this fighter is doing less damage than you would have liked him to do for the points he is. Now, he does get a really nice double though. So he's a little bit faster than normal, and he has a double, you ain't that big. So this is when they're about to melee a target with higher wounds or a hero. So either is good. So 25, more than 25 wounds is a lot to ask. But you are going to get to add 2 attacks, 2 dice attack. And because you only got 2 initially, that actually doubles it up. So you're basically getting an extra free attack out of it. And on top of that, your crits are going to be on 5s as well as 6s. And because this is doing 5 damage on your crits, that is actually going to increase damage a lot. So this looks like on paper it's a good fighter to go out there and hunt for their elites and for their big guys. So they're probably not going to be able to take one of the big guys out, but they are going to be able to do a chunk of damage to it with just a minor investment of a double. They are going to be a little bit faster than the rest of the Orcs. So yeah, they feel like they've got a little utility to me. I do need to play them and try them out. The other side of this is the Brute Wrekka. Now the Wrekka does cost more, but is doing more damage. It's about 150 points worth of damage, I think, but you're still getting that on top of the 4 move. We also have reach of 3, which is really, really nice. The weapon profile is a bit weird, actually, because the hits and crits are actually the same. They are 2 damage. So I've seen a lot of people play around with blessings. So if you're increasing the normal damage on that to 3, weirdly, you don't want to get crits. Like 6 is less damage, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. It's certainly an interesting option. Okay, but yeah, fast, good wounds, does decent damage, has reach, so all looking good. And here we've got a double Berserk Whirlwind. Allocate a number of damage points equal to half the value of the ability to each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches. So it's able to do a good chunk of damage to low wound targets and or even high wound targets, to be honest, because hits and crits. But that double is going to be half the value. So it's double 6 is just going to go 3 damage to everything around it. Yeah, it's an interesting model, and it is definitely something I want to try out. But yeah, it's a little bit faster, and it's going to get good damage, and you're getting this kind of AoE ability, which is kind of fun. Hello. Okay, so this is Sunday night, and obviously I got a chunk of work done. So I did assemble that box of Ragers and Wreckers. So I assembled them last night. I got the basing material, and for whatever reason, I always use this tub of Leho earth texture. This is the dark earth. And then we did the same as before, so it was a black undercoat, then it was magenta, then an old rose, then we used some white ink, and then we went over it with yellow. So that got us that nice yellow effect. Then after that we went in and did some straight colours. So what am I using? So I'm using a dark green mixed with a olive green as the base tone. Do I have an example of it here? I've got 4 of them I'm still working on. So that's what that ends up as. So, and yeah, we've done a little bit of black on his pants, but that's about it. And we did a as I said before, we did the dry brush of the yellow. Then we spent a lot of time working on the skins here. So after, yeah, we went back with the olive green tone, and what I do is, you can see it's gone completely messy because I'm kind of merging up the different colors. So I'm going from that, and then I kind of dilute it well, and then we just layer it up, and then after that we layer into a frog green, and then we mix in a little bit of ivory to get this final tone. So this kind of stretch along here is where I'm going. So this is the base coat, then we're heavily diluting it. So if I get one of the ones, maybe we can see what we're doing. So getting a good bit of water, I know it's kind of dirty, but whatever, and we're making sure that when we apply it, we're not actually getting that much on it. And so it's quite diluted, and when you actually leave this for a little bit, the colour blends down, so you kind of end up, we're not really painting each other, are we? So what it'll initially look quite severe when you're painting it on. If it's diluted enough, once it dries in, it's going to blend quite well. That was not what I wanted. I'm not too worried about this first one anyway. Yeah, it's probably a bit better. So we're kind of seeing the colours go through, and we're getting those edges in. Anyway, that's what we're working at. This is the current state of play. And here's my wife coming in to see how I'm doing. So as you can see, I've got some of the Ragers looking good. And I just have these last few ones to do. So I'm going to finish off these tonight. We're going to finish off the Greenskin. And then we're going to call it for Sunday and see where we are on Monday. On Monday evening. I haven't really made any progress on this, and that's fine. The only thing I did was I dropped a little bit of, yeah, here we go, Catonian camo shade over it, over the skin. So that kind of blended it back a little bit. So there have been a couple of ones where maybe the highlights were a little bit extreme, and in places also kind of sank in and gave some darker. So a little bit of blending and a little bit of shading, which was good. But yeah, very, very little. Like, that took me 5 minutes to drop that camo shade down on it. Doing something like that where you're getting a wash after doing your highlighting, it's a bit weird, but it does kind of often kind of blend it all together, so they all kind of look a little bit more kind of cohesive. So that's what we did there. Today's a Monday though, and on Mondays I play WHFRP. So I broke out my Witch Hunter, and my friends came over, and we played some of the RPG. So yeah, that's about it. It was good fun. Monday evening. So what have we done? So I think in one of the earlier ones I did talk about the skin tones and how I was doing a Thornian camo wash to kind of bring them down a bit. And I've gone back in with a little bit of frog green to bring out the highlights again. I think that's probably something I could do again and again and again. I could wash it down to make it meld and then layer it up again and just keep doing that forever and ever and ever and ever. But yeah, we're making progress. So we've done the metallics. We've done more on the base, so there's a little bit of a dry brush on it. So we can see bits like the skull has a base on it. In this case, what did I use? Xandri dust, and then I use skeleton contrast over it, which is a little bit excessive, but it is what it is. So we've got some of the letters done. Need to do that wood. We've got bits of scraps of cloth, more letters, and we're making good progress. So yeah, this one this is the kind of initial test one. We did a little bit more work on that than we did the others. But for most of them, we're kind of in the same situation where we've got the leathers base coated, but but we still need to go in and do some edge highlighting on them. And I'm at that kind of painful bit near the end where I'm still working on the details. They're kind of done. But one of the things I do want to do is I want to patch out some of the black sections. So we've got tons of yellow, and I'm really happy with how the yellow turned out, but we've got a little bit too much of it. We want like black sections. So this is what the Wrekkas look like. So you can see I'm just picking out knee pads, boot, bits of scraps here and there. And then you can see a little bit more of it on these boys. So we're going to try to keep all the shields yellow, is currently planned. Yeah, so we're making progress. It's been over a week. We're back to it Thursday. And yeah, I kind of want to finish this up and move on to other projects. But it's just a matter of working through it. I'm pretty happy with where I've got so far, I have to admit. Like, I really like that skin tone. But it's just nailing it, getting those last few bits. Need to get the eyes, need to go through details. And yeah, picking out those black sections, picking out more silver. We're probably going to do a little bit of weathering near the end with the kind of grimy bits here. So you can see, can you see all these ones? Yeah, you can kind of see they've got like bits of dark weathering on the shields and like chips of silver. So after we get the black down, then we'll get into that a little bit, because there's kind of two sections. One is black and then the other is black with the silver over it. So we've got a bit of variety there. Anyway, that's where we are. We'll keep working through it and we'll keep checking in. So hopefully what I'm doing is I'm talking my way through bits and pieces, and I'm talking about how these will play in Warcry. Speaking of which, one of the big fighters in Warcry is the Orruk Megaboss. This is an absolute tank. So yeah, it's got strength 6, so at T3, T4, T5, it's all doing the same damage, and it averages out about 10 damage every time it attacks. That's pretty terrifying. It's also 5 toughness, which is above the average of 4, and 35 wounds, which means you need to do a lot of damage to take it down. It has that weakness of only 3 move, which can be a challenge, but it does still have access to that like charge ability, and the reaction for the Ironjawz is to trade off someone else's movement action to give it to the Orruk Megaboss. So there are ways to get this monster into combat and do a lot of damage. So we've got 2 of them. So it's got a triple, which is WA, and this is actually on all of the leaders. So this isn't just for the Orruk Megaboss, but this is the first time I'm talking about it. Till the end of the battle round, at half value disability, rounding up to remove characteristics of friendly fighters while they make a move action, starts within 6 inches of the fighter. Brilliant ability. This is something that you want to be using on turn 1. So you will pick one of your groups, whichever is going to be relevant, and you'll activate this triple, and then everyone in that battle group, so basically the people near it doesn't necessarily have to be the battle group, but this is kind of usually where this is the most effective, are going to get a bonus to their move. So instead of moving 3 and 3, they're going to be so half the value rounding up. So they could be getting an extra 3 if you've got a 5 or a 6. Even a 3 or 4 got an extra 2 to their move. So they're going to be moving 5 and then 5. Like, that's amazing. It's an absolutely brilliant ability. The quad is a similar version to it, and basically just sets it to 3 rather than being off the value. So if you've got a quad 1 is going to be equivalent to a triple 5 or 6 with the WA, which is great. And also the range on that is increased. So it's 9 inches to get that range rather than 6 inches. And the Mighty WA is something that is the Mega Boss has access to. So he is a absolute truck. It is an absolute complete monster by itself, and will absolutely terrify any opponent. They will do their best to stay away from him as best they can. But also he has great utility within the warband because he's getting that extra movement activities. Now, it is 225, so almost 250, almost a quarter of the warband. But yeah, absolutely fantastic fighter, great, and is kind of a centerpiece model for this warband. In this next section, I'm going to be talking about Rivots, really. There's a bunch of rivets on the Ironjawz. There's a bunch of bolts, I guess, for holding your arm together. And in this upcoming piece, what I do is I use some of these AK Interactive real color markers. They're very, very interesting. They only recently came out, and I've been kind of experimenting around with them. I have a few different ones, but in this video, I'm only really looking at the silver one. It is an acrylic, so this isn't a marker we're using. Well, it is a marker, but it is acrylic paint rather than what you'd normally get in a marker. So keep that in mind as I go through it. You don't have to go for AK Interactive either. This is something that's been quite common with a lot of the mech, with the gunpla stuff. For like doing trim and stuff, they do have markers for like golds and silvers and stuff. So if AK is not your speed, then there's that. But AK did release a range of basically a full set of colors, which is really, really interesting. I'm going to be trying it out with Legion Imperialis soon, but we might be at the point where if you've got a kid, you can buy them a bunch of markers and they can literally paint their Space Marine using markers, which I think could be very, very fun. And here we are again. So I have been pottering away and I've made some good progress. So let's see where we are at. So, I mean, a lot of it is just like bits of details. So getting that leather work done, getting the straps done, highlighting them. I did a line across or black on the base. And the big one and the hard one for me was picking out some of these sections to do them in black. So this was where I had really nice yellow, and then I went over with black, and then we did a little bit of dry brush of a light grey just to kind of pick it out. I could have edge highlighted it. Can you see it there? Probably a better example. Yeah, this one's probably good. I could have edge highlighted it, but it was easy enough just to dry brush it and get it done. What else did we do? We did dropped in some silvers. One thing I do like doing is taking one of the Black Templar contrast on the sides, the non-sharp points of the weapons. That does that kind of nice effect. I mean, obviously you could do it as black, but it's finding it quicker to do it this way. We picked out some of the black bits. So you can see here we've got parts as well that are on the shield. So it's not just sections, but it is actually picking out bits. What else did we do? I think that's mostly it. Obviously, there's a lot of work. There is a little bit of edge highlighting there. The green we did rework again a few times. So this is my favorite guy. And we just went back in with some of the lighter green and then kind of picked it out. So just constantly, you can constantly do that. I feel like you can kind of wash it to kind of blend it all and then layer up more to kind of get the higher contrast. So you're looking to get deep deeps and bright highlights. You can see that we've got that black to get the good look. All right, where are we at? Okay, so this guy is a little bit further progressed, a little bit further on. What I'm doing currently, let's see if you can see on his legs. I'm dropping in a little bit of Scrag Brown rust on some parts. Do I have a better example? Can we see on that? Yeah, see on that whirly ball? So what we do is we get the Scrag Brown. So here's some Scrag Brown. And we dilute it. So we kind of add extra water and we end up just pushing it around onto spots. So where are we putting it? Okay, so obviously here we're putting it onto the weapon and we're kind of putting it on the edges. So basically it's going to turn into rust for us. We can also put it between the plates. I'm not sure if that's a great example there. Let's see if I can find a better one. Not the big guy's probably good. Yeah, there. So you can put it between the plates, which I think gets a nice little bit of contrast, which is good. I'm also putting it on any of the rivets. So what we're doing with these rivets, and I'll show you what I'm doing in a second, is we're going to come in, we're going to drop down a Scrag Brown around it. So this is going to be the rust that's forming around the rivet, but then we're actually going to do the rivet itself. This guy's obviously got a lot more work done, so we did do some layers of bone, dry brushed them up. What else? We went in with a wood. And yeah, you can see here we've got the kind of Scrag Brown, and then we went over with the silvers. So let's do this once. So these guys are very close to finish. I haven't done this last step with these 5 orcs here. Once I've got this step done, I'll be pretty happy about it. I'll probably close it off for today. No, we don't need this. But there is still more to do. What else do we have to do? I've got some more basic stuff that I want to play around with that I'll show in another video. But yeah, we're just going to take a little bit of scrag around. And then the idea here is to basically well dilute it down. So we get it kind of like this. So it's more like an ink. Okay, now let's see what we're going to do with this. Apologies. Okay, if this moves. Okay, so the chainmail is an easy one. We can just put in some lines on it. We don't want to wash it all with this. It's better to kind of have small sections of it. We're going to try put it around this here. So the goal here will be to have it on the outsides as if it's been rusting around it. So yeah, it's not really working. Fine. We can kind of try put it between 2 of the plates here. See the way it's very liquidy, and then when that dries, it'll be just kind of a little bit of a crust. It works quite well on the black as well. See there, you get a nice little bit of. Can you see there? It'll form a nice little line between the plates. But what we're actually looking to do is we're looking for these rivets, and we're just dotting it onto the rivet. And hopefully, if we've got enough of the paint on it, what it'll do is it'll just kind of form around the rivet. As if rust has been forming around where that rivet is. We're also gonna try get it across some of the plates. So we have to be careful with this. And then maybe wipe it away. So the idea is to kind of get it in the in-betweens. Again, the idea here is that these guys are letting their gear kind of rust a little bit. We can go a little bit crazy on here. Maybe not that crazy, but. And it's kind of nice because it will kind of sink in, and if we want to, we can kind of wipe it away. And also, when we're doing it on the yellow, the orange actually works out really well. So if you kind of make a mess of it, or let's do it up here. If we put something in here, it actually looks fine. It looks good. Okay, I'm going to try finish this out quickly. And a lot of the time we're just looking to kind of place it, if that makes sense. We want that that little line to kind of form between the 2 plates. And basically when it dries, it'll look like rust. Alright, so that's as much as we're going to do on this one. What I also want to show you today is something I've been playing around with recently. And this is a marker. So this is one of AK Interactive's. They're not the only one who do this. Apparently it's been quite common with Gunpla and that side of the world. But basically what it is, it's an acrylic paint marker. So in this case we're looking at silver. What we could do is we could put silver on the paint, stand and then do the brush. But we don't need to because oh, that's the wrong one. Because we already have this guy out and ready to go, so we can see his head has a little ring, so we're just going to do that, and then we can quickly dot. And we're just going to keep going around doing that. I have found this to be very, very useful. I had intended to get it for my Legion Imperialis because they're, you know, quite small. But just for doing quick jobs like this. Now, you know, again, I could go do this with a paintbrush, but at the same time, you know, I don't necessarily need to. It's good control, like it was like a well-formed, nice brush, but without the hassle. And I honestly wonder if one could paint something up completely using just this. You don't. I know it feels kind of weird with the markers. You don't have to leave it like this afterwards. I'll probably put a wash over it to darken it down or make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that's what it is, and that's what we're doing. So I do feel like we're very close. This is in the kind of last stages. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably spend a little more time kind of working my way through it. Off screen, of course. And I will come back for what I imagine will be the last step. That'll be tomorrow. So I can't quite remember when I started, but this is Sunday the 27th, I think. I have to double check that. Ooh, let's do the edge lining of this. So this is probably taken me about 2 weeks. But it's been a chill 2 weeks. I have an 9-to-5. I have social engagements, some social engagements, less than most I'd imagine, but still. And, you know, I've been able to get through it a little bit at a night. It's kind of something anyone can do. Now, one of the things I kind of wanted to do while doing this, that didn't go great, was make the point that most of the content creators do that full time. So when you see people kind of powering through and getting things done in a day or two, you don't realize that that is their 9-to-5, that they are kind of treating that as a job, while we're stuck here in the slums treating it like a hobby. So just remember that. Don't compare yourself with others. Just keep working away, keep getting a little bit done, keep improving if you can. Experimenting, playing around with these extra little toys. It's always fun. And all right. So now we've got like all the little silver bits and dubs done, bits and bumps. Now there was something I did see. There was a section that I needed to go over, but I've forgotten what it is. I think it was one of the blacks. Oh, let's try and do that there. And actually, just for the fun of it, I have a limited selection of them. I haven't got a lot of them. I just wanted to try out. This is brown. What we're going to try do is we're going to try just lighten up that little piece of fabric that's kind of torn off. So there, that's that done. In theory, if we wanted, we could edge highlight the a little bit too light of brown. Going to definitely pick up a darker brown so I can do some chipping. Okay, what else can we look at? And remember, yeah, we are literally just applying a paint, so it isn't a big deal. Now, this is a very bright yellow, so I think I did see some bits where I was kind of wondering. Oh yeah, so there was that one where I got silver on it. Let's go back in and see what it looks like. It's a bit bright. see that's very right. But yeah, well, it's probably going to go well down on some things. Can probably serve as a nice edge highlight. It's going to be really good for doing hatches. That is my plan. And yeah, we can do some fun bits and pieces with them if we wanted to. Anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm going. So this guy is now moved over to my done pile. I have 4 more, so I'm going to keep doing this this rust effect on as many of the bits as I can work my way through, and yeah, and then bring out silvers. Then next up, we are going to be looking at some fancy basing. And for the fancy basing, we're going to be using some Gamer's Grass. Now, I do have my own collection of tufts, but I did decide to go for a restock. And my local hobby store, or hobby store I normally order from, which is Era Hobbies in Ireland, they had this box, which had, as you can see, a bunch of different tufts, some glues and stuff. And I also picked up on the right-hand side, you can see ferns. These are quite interesting. So these are kind of printed paper that's been cut. So I'll be showing it in a second anyway. You push it out. Looking at this, the way they've done this, when I was doing it, as when you'll see me doing it, I only popped out one set and put that one set down. So I'm putting like one leaf at a time. So maybe I should be going back and putting some more leaves on top. I'll also mention, because I did just do an AK Interactive thing and now I'm doing a Gamer's Grass thing. None of this is sponsored. This is just the stuff that I was using, stuff that I have for my own hobby, and stuff that I was trying out myself. So this isn't a sponsored content or endorsed or in any way. It's just me trying things out. But we are about to have an unboxing. We are moving into the final step. So there are still problems here. That's pretty better. Okay. There are still problems. Well, okay. There's still a bunch of things that are kind of unfinished. I did go in and use a bit of this mud weathering powder. You probably won't really notice it, but basically adding a little bit more color to the bases, and then kind of dry brushing it up to kind of get a little bit of texture on the feet, just kind of where it's a bit worn. I could have gone a lot more, and you know, the brown is pretty noticeable. Quite happy with how that orange ended up turning up. It does look a bit rusty, and I think what I need to do is I need to add some matte varnish to the skin to reduce the shine again. I did do one matte varnish on it, but I think it needs another. But yeah, there's bits and pieces that are missing. Like if I look across all the models, there are ones where I don't have straps colored, and where maybe I could do an extra highlight and a bunch of stuff. But at some point, you just have to kind of step back and let it go. So we're going to do this final stage. This is a box I picked up. I have been using tufts for years, but I wanted to get a few new ones, and this was a relatively good deal. So if I open this up, we've got some instructions. What else? We've got some white glue. So it's just normal PVA glue, like I use normally some Pritt stick, but we're going to try it out today. We have some tweezers, very nice fancy tweezers. So open those up, and then we've got a bunch of different tufts, and this is what I really like. I think the variety is great. Like having multiple different ones at different heights. You can't quite see. That's the box. That's everything. This one is super high. This one is short. This one is shorter. And then we've got some flowers. Not sure if I'm necessarily going to use the flowers this time around. I do have some yellow ones elsewhere. Doesn't get everywhere. We'll end up shaking that off if we can. Oh, it's a very needly one. Okay. We also have these. These are ferns. I'm very interested in trying these out. So yeah, we'll do that in a second. Alright, so this is a nice big base. We're going to pick 2 of these quick. You don't put the white glue directly on, or I don't at least, onto the model. Instead, what you'll do is you'll pick a piece. So let's get one of these big ones. You'll dip it onto it, so you just get that PVA just on there, and then we're going to put it down. So this will hide some of the detail, but you know, hopefully it'll look good. Well, that's not working, is it? What's going on here? Alternatively, you can super glue it down. That might be something we do instead. I've had good results with super gluing things on the bases. Or what we do is we just break this up. So if you're not familiar with these, they basically are just flock that's been pre-done onto a base. And you can go in and you can, oh, why is this being so awkward? You can highlight it as well, because it is kind of mostly just one color, but in real life there will be a little bit of variation across it. Get this one over here. And then the variations in color really make it look good. Okay, well, we're going to try something weird. We're going to try one of these ferns. So, what do we do? Pick it, mold it, bend it, glue it. Alright. Each of these comes with just the one sheet in it. You can kind of see, you can perforate it through fully. So let's grab one. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to try replicate what this would look in real life. So we're going to try curl it on either side if we can. It is just paper, I think. But each of those little fronds is cut out, so we should be able to bend them up hopefully. make it seem a little bit more natural, less like paper, more like an actual plant. Where to focus? How should they look? Okay. Yeah, this isn't working. I think we're doing some super glue. Okay, and we're going to get another one of the little ones. Stick in the front here. I mean, not bad, not perfect. Try and get a little bit of white off. And I'm going to keep doing that. We're going to keep going through these. I do also have some slightly bigger ferns, bracken. So we'll see how they work out. A little trickier than I was hoping for, but you know, they do look good in the base. It's a bit of variation, makes it look interesting. And yeah, I'll basically declare to myself that this guy is done. There's still plenty more I could do if I really wanted to, but yeah, I think I'm happy. And here we are done. So, what did I find? Well, these big boys, the big toughs, aren't great for most of the other models, unless they're really big. Similar with this nice bit of bracken, and you can see I managed to squeeze in a little bit of the the ferns there. I also got a few ferns on this guy. I thought that came out quite nice. They were quite tricky to work with. And I did use white glue, or the PVA glue for these guys, where previously I prefer using super glue. Think next time I'll probably end up using super glue. It's also worth noting, well, two things. First, so this is one of the big ones. See, I was trying to get it on one of the bigger bases, and I mean, it's fine. More is sometimes less. So mixing the different colors looks really well. But you can see on like a lot of the bases, there are still chunks of it free. You don't need to have everything covered. That kind of defeats the point a little bit. To kind of get a nice mix. Using one tuft probably wouldn't look as good. Using multiple tufts does look better. In this case, for a lot of them, I just used two different variations of green. It looks quite well. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, these big ones, these tall ones, maybe not as useful just because they kind of conceal a lot of the base all at once. They did obviously work better on this big boy here. So big model had a lot more room. I only used the bracken once. I really like the bracken because I actually do have bracken like this at home where I am from. And yeah, there are a couple of ones where I'll probably have to go down and press them down later. One thing I can do, if I want, we'll see, is you can dry brush just with a light white or like pale sand or something across the tops just to give a little bit of variation on them. Some of these maybe have it incorporated, but it can be a nice way to finish them out. But that's it. So this is the warband. So we've got our big guy. We've got, there's a leader in there, or he's the, technically I guess he's the, well, leader or hero and hero. So we do have 3 hero options if we want to. For the leader for the Ardboyz, I probably will just treat him as a normal Ardboy unless I have extra points to get through. And we've got 1 speedy bloke and 2 brute ragers. So the weird boy killer something, and then 2 ragers. Anyway, that's it. We're done. Obviously, I could keep working at things. I could, go in and put more details on the shields, more symbols. But yeah, at some point you just have to say you're done. And I think we have reached that point. So thank you very much for joining with me for this Orktober ramble. As you can see, it's hopefully is evident this is just been me hobbying and then making a video to try to get something out. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully there was a couple of tips, some things that maybe you didn't know before that you learned. Please put any comments down below, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. All right, have a good one. Yeah, as I said, this really was just me spending 2 weeks painting up some orcs and showing you me painting them up. This is the end result. I'm really, really happy with it. As I said, there's obviously lots more I could go in and redo if I want to. I think for many of the projects, that's always the case, and you sometimes just need to let go and move on. If you're still listening to this, I can see it is over an hour. Thank you. This isn't necessarily designed for anyone in particular to watch, rather than just me to document what I'm doing. But hopefully you did get something out of it. And I won't waste any more of your time. Yeah, have a good one. And maybe next Orktober, you can consider doing something similar. And yeah, now is the time to start preparing for your Christmas game, which is terrifying, or Thanksgiving. Some people do Warcry turkeys. It certainly is a thing. All right, I will end this here. Have a great one, everyone.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week, I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible 2-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.